Hello, grade 11s. Welcome. Yes, we are here for you. It is the exam school revision show with myself and Lunga. You guys know that I'm not always alone. We've got a lovely teacher with us in studio today. Lunga, how are you?
I'm very well, Queen. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Lunga. So Lunga's going to be taking us through the exam paper for today. And remember, guys, if you have any questions, all you have to do is simply communicate with us, guys. We're here for you on our social media pages, and that is on Facebook or on Twitter at Learn Extra with an X, or simply facebook.com/Learn Extra. You'll find us there. We are there for you. And if you have any questions as Lunga progresses through the show, remember that you can also ask us. We are here live, and I will be with you guys throughout the duration of the show. So Lunga, take it away.
Thank you very much, Queen. Grade 11s, welcome to tonight's program. Let's just take a quick look at what we're going to be covering in the next hour. Right, so basically what we'll be looking at are algebraic equations, functions, a huge chunk of your exams, as you all know, finance calculations, number patterns, and lastly, we'll look at probability. Okay, and there is also a challenge question that I'd like you to try and do, perhaps in the ad breaks, and you can post all your feedback on the Facebook page, and Queen will be looking at that. Right, so here's the challenge question. You're given a number pattern. The number pattern is 1, 5, 11, and 19. And it is such that the second difference is constant. So what is the 100th number in the pattern? Okay, so basically what you need to focus on there is that we want to please focus on the second difference, and they want to tell them what the 100th number in the pattern is, but we'll leave that for last. Moving right along. Right, so question 1 taken from a past paper. Let's take a look at it. It is simply an equation, and as you can see, it's an equation with a fraction. All right, you need to solve for x. Okay, so what type of equation is this? This is an equation with a fraction. So, as you all know, what you first need to do is to find the lowest common denominator. Okay, and what do we do with our lowest common denominator? We multiply both sides of the equation, that and all of that, by the LCD, so that we can get rid of that fraction and make it easier to solve. Right, so let's go back there and answer that question. Right, so we should agree that our LCD is going to be 3x minus 2. That is the smallest term that 1 divides into and that 3x minus 2 divides into. So if we multiply both sides of our equation by 3x minus 2, we're going to have x multiplied by 3x minus 2 is equal to 5 over 3x minus 2 multiplied by 3x minus 2. All right? And what happens there is that away goes the fraction, and if we get rid now of this bracket, we're going to have 3x squared minus 2x is equal to 5, which is what we left over on the right-hand side. So what type of equation is this? It's a quadratic equation, and as you all know, with quadratic equations, you need to make it equal to 0 and factorize and then solve for the unknown. Right, so that means that 3x squared minus 2x, if I make it equal to 0, I move the 5 over, it becomes a negative, and I'm left with a 0 on the right-hand side. So that means that we now need to factorize this. I need to find factors of 3 and factors of 5. Right, so let's do it on the left-hand side. The factors of 3 are 1 and 3, or 3 and 1. And factors of 5, let's just go with 5 and 1. And I need to multiply across. And remember, my answers, grade 11s, must give me the middle term, which is negative 2, or negative 2x. All right, so let's try this first pair, and 1 and 5. So 1 times 5 is 5, and 3 times 1 is 3. Right, now those will definitely give me minus 2, okay? So let's go with those two then. Let's change back to that color. So we need 2 brackets. Okay, so the factors are 1 and 3 and 1 and 5. So I'll put a 1x here, and I can put a 3x in the second bracket. Okay, and remember the 1 is multiplied by 5. So if you fold this thing out, the 5 will be there, and the 1 will be here. All right, and now we need to decide what the signs are going to be. Remember, I must get a minus 2, so it means that that should be a plus and that should be a minus. All right, so it means that I'm going to have minus there, and I'm going to have a plus there. Right, so now we've got a product of 2 things multiplied by each other, and they give me an answer of 0. So it means that either the first thing, the first term, is equal to 0, or the second term is equal to 0. Okay? And those are simple linear equations. This means that x is equal to -1, or 3x is equal to 5. Dividing both sides by 3, x is equal to 5 over 3. And there we've answered 1.1. Okay, we've got 2 answers there. Let's move right along and see what question 1.2 has for us. Right, again, it's an equation. We need to solve for an unknown, which is x. This time it's just an equation with a bracket, but it says round your answer off to 2 decimal places. Grade 11s, this is what you should be careful of. This means this is a special type of equation, okay? You might have to use a calculator here. Right, so we see a bracket, and the first thing we should do is to get rid of the bracket, okay? And that we can do by simply distributing this x into the bracket. So let's take it away. 3x times x will be 3x squared, and then multiply this x by 13 will be 13x, which is equal to 11. As we can see, it's a quadratic equation, so I need to do 2 things: make it equal to 0 and factorize it. So 3x squared plus 13x minus 11 is equal to 0. Now we need to try and factorize this. I need to find factors of 3. I'm going to do them in a different color: 1 and 3, 3 and 1, and these are going to be cross multiplied with factors of 11, which are simply 1 and 11. So let's try first pair times that pair. 1 times 11 is 11. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, now those will never give me the middle term, which is 13, if I add or subtract them. Let's try the second pair. Okay, this pair and that, right? So 3 times 11 is 33, and 1 and 1 is 1. Again, that cannot give me 13. So what do we do now? Do we panic? No, we don't. Okay, as you know, in grade 11 now, you know that if an equation cannot be factorized, you are given other tools. You're given something called the quadratic formula, okay? So what does the quadratic formula say? It says that, let's just write that in blue, x will be equal to -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And what I need to do is just substitute values now. Okay, so what is my b going to be? My b is 13, okay? Remember that this quadratic expression can be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, okay? That should help you realize what is a, what is b, and what is c. Right, so my x, grade 11s, will be equal to negative b. Okay, so my b is 13, so that will be -13 plus or minus the square root of, we're going to square the b, so it's 13 squared okay, minus 4 multiplied by my a, which is 3, as you can see there, and multiplied by c, which is negative 11. Do not forget your signs, because what we did here is we actually went plus negative 11, okay? And the plus and the negative next to each other give me a negative, right? So all over 2, let's extend the page, 2 multiplied by a, okay? What is my a again? Let me just check. My a is 3, so 2 times 3, right? Okay, so let's try and simplify what is under the root sign. Negative 13 plus or minus, okay, that is going to give me 169. That's 13 squared, okay, and 3 times negative 11 is negative 33, negative 33, and all over 2 times 3, which is 6. All right, now this is very easy because all we can do now, what we can do now is just to pick up your calculator. There is mine, and what do we have here? We've got negative 13, so it's negative 13. Let's do the plus first, the positive. Square root of 169. Okay, and remember, negative times negative, so it's going to be negative 4, negative 33. Okay, move down, that's going to give me a 6. And there's my answer there. We want it as a decimal to 2 decimal places, so if you round it off to 2 decimal places, my answer will be 0.72. Okay, 0.72. That was just the positive. Now if you take the negative, let's bring back our calculator. Okay, I'm just going to go there and change that negative to a positive, because, sorry, the positive to a negative, because remember, we've got plus or minus. So let's make that a minus now, and what do we get? We get that beautiful answer. And if I write it as a decimal, it's that. If you round it off to 2 decimal places, it'll be negative 5,06. Negative 5,06. All right. Grade 11s, that brings me to the end of question 1.2. All right. I think it's time for an ad break. Queen, do you agree?
All right, yes, I think maybe we should take that ad break. And guys, don't go anywhere because we still have some more questions to cover.
Definitely.
So we are still continuing. We'll be right back. We'll see you after the ad break. Welcome back, grade 11s. Hope you guys refreshed yourselves during that break and now you are ready to absorb some more knowledge. But before we get back into the show, just remember, guys, that we've still got our Safeways K53 competition running with the hashtag Be a Bright Spark. Now, remember, all you have to do is purchase yourself this very cool driver's manual, or you can also buy the app on Google App Store or Samsung Play Store. And it is as easy and simple as that. After that, just simply click on the competition tab on our Facebook page and enter your details there, and you are entered. Remember, you get another free entry if you just simply share the competition details with your Facebook friends. Now, guys, let us continue with the exam school revision. Lunga, we were still continuing with question 1, I think it was.
Thank you very much, Queen. Yes, as she said, we're moving on to question 1.3. Again, it's an equation we need to solve for x, but take note that this one here does not have an equal to sign, so it's an inequality, all right? And as you can see, it's got 2 brackets, which means it's probably a quadratic inequality. So what's going to happen is, guys, this question will be posted on the Facebook page. Okay, I'd like you to give it a bash, all right? And then we might look at it at the end of the question, sorry, at the end of the session, all right? But just to give you some tips, it's a quadratic inequality, so you need to make it you need to have 0 on one side of the inequality, and then you need to factorize. Okay, that's all I'm saying, so I'd like you to try that on your own. We're moving right along now to question 2. Right, what does it say? It says consider this equation, doing lots of equations today, and so there they give you that equation there, and now they say find the values of k, right, for which the roots of this equation are real. Okay, so this should ring bells that this is a nature of roots question. Right, so with nature of roots you should be thinking the discriminant. So what is a discriminant? Discriminant is, that's the sign, it is equal to b squared minus 4ac, right? So what do they say? They say find the values of k for which the roots of this are real. Okay? We should know that if the roots are real, it means that the discriminant is greater than or equal to 0. Right? So that's our starting point. Okay, so here is an equation. Let's get it into the quadratic form, in quadratic format. Right, so it's got a fraction. We need to get rid of the fraction. So I multiply both sides by my LCD, which is that term there. So let's take it away. It'll mean that if I multiply the left-hand side by that denominator, I will have 4x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now the denominator is gone because they cancel each other out. Not cancel, but they multiply. Sorry, they divide each other out. All right? Which is equal to, I need to multiply the right-hand side by the LCD as well. So that is 4x squared minus 2x plus 1. Right? We need to get rid of this bracket. So I've got 4x squared on the left-hand side plus 2x plus 1. I need to distribute that k into this bracket. So I'm going to write 4kx squared minus 2kx plus k. Right? Easy peasy. So as we've said, it's a quadratic equation, so we need to make it equal to 0. Right, so bringing everything over to the left-hand side, I'm going to have 4x squared. All right. I'm going to write the minus 4kx squared. Bring that over first, because if you want to get it in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, then surely we should have all the x squared terms together and the x terms together and all the constants together. All right. So this guy has moved over. Right, and what am I left with on the left hand side? I've still got my 2x, right? So let's bring the x, the term that has x from the right hand side. That's going to be plus 2kx, right? And I've got a 1, and I need to bring that k over. It changes its sign, and that whole thing becomes 0. Right, now bear in mind, you cannot forget that we're trying to get it into this form here, ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so we need to isolate this term here, the x squared. We need to isolate the x, right? So the only way I can do that is if I factorize the first two terms. So that will mean that, let's go back to our orange color, that will mean that if I take out the highest common factor from the first two terms, I'm going to have 4x squared minus 4, sorry, excuse me, I've made a mistake there. Let's go back to our colors. Okay, I'm going to have 4 because I'm taking out the highest common factor, which is x squared, minus 4k, close bracket, and there's my highest common factor outside. And from the next two terms, I need to take out a 2, sorry, an x again, so that will mean I'm left with 2 plus 2k x, and the last two terms we can group, okay, because that is going to be my c. Right, so what is my discriminant going to be? let's remind ourselves the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Right, so let's go back now and substitute. So my b is that term there, so it's going to be 2 plus 2k all squared, right, minus 4. What is my a? My a is going to be the coefficient of the x squared, so it is this term there, so it is 4 minus 4k, and c is going to be the 1 minus k, which I've put in brackets. So let's see if we can simplify this now. Right, so we need to square that, sorry, FOIL it out, so it's going to give me 4 plus 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is going to be 8k. That's just foiling it out. If you want to write 2 brackets and FOIL it out, that's also fine, right? And this is going to be minus 4. Let's multiply these 2 brackets out. I'm going to have 4 minus 4k minus another 4k is going to be minus 8k. Again, I'm just foiling it out, guys. And plus 4k squared. Cool. And let's get rid of that last bracket. So I'm going to have 4 plus 8 plus 8k plus 4k squared minus 16 plus 32k minus 16k squared. Let's add like terms there, right? So if you do the k squareds, so it's 4k minus 16k, so it's going to be minus 12k squared. And if you do the k's, it's going to be 8k plus 32k, that's going to be plus 40k. And we're left with 4 minus 16, which is minus 12. Now, remember, in order for the roots to be real, this discriminant must be greater than or equal to 0. So that's what I'm going to do there. Greater than or equal to 0. Right, there we've got an inequality, a quadratic inequality, as you can see, and we need to solve for k. Right, so let's take out the highest common factor here, and it looks like it's going to be, if we take out a 4, I'm going to take out a negative 4, and I'm going to be left with 3k minus 10k plus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. Let's check if that's right. Yes, that looks okay. I'm not happy with that negative 4 outside, so I need to divide both sides by negative 4. And bear in mind that if you divide by a negative in an inequality, the inequality sign changes. So if I divide both sides, I'm going to be left with 3k. Oops, I forgot my x squared there. I hope you guys didn't at home. So it's going to be 3k squared minus 10k plus 3. And there's the magic that happens if you divide by a negative. Now we need to try and factorize this one. It's a quadratic expression, so I need to find factors of 1 and factors of 3 and factors of 3. So let's do that here. It'll be 1 and 3 or 3 and 1. Multiplied by 1 and 3 or 3 and 1. Okay, right, so we need to multiply across. Let's try that pair with that pair. 1 times 3 is 3, and 3 times 1 is 3, right? That will never give me this middle term, which is negative 10, so that's not going to work. Let's try the first term, the first pair and the last pair. So these guys and those guys. Okay, so 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 3 is 9, and that could give me a negative 10. Right, so I need 2 brackets. Let's get back to our original color there. Right, so in the terms that come first are going to be 1k and 3k. All right, and the 1 is multiplied by the 1 and the 3 is multiplied by 3. Sorry, my 3s here are not looking very smart, but this here, let's fix it. Okay, that there was a 3, right? We need to decide on the signs now. It's going to be a negative there and a negative there. So now I've got a product of two things multiplied by each other. I need to know where this product will be negative, because do you agree that if something is less than 0, it means it is negative? So I want to know where these two, this product will give me a negative answer and where it'll give me an answer that is equal to 0. Right, so let's first look at where it'll give me an answer that is equal to 0. And how do I do that? Let's do this with a different color. So x minus 1 is equal to 0. Okay? So this means that k is equal to 1, and 3k minus 1 is equal to 0. Solving for k there will give you 3k is equal to 1, k is equal to 1 over 3. So those are what we call our critical points. That's where that product will give me an answer that is equal to 0. All right, let's move right along. You may have been taught to do this differently, but as long as it's mathematically correct, okay, here's a number line. I need to place these two critical points on a number line. So in order, I've got I've got a third there, and I've got a 1 there. So let's see what happens for all values less than negative a third, less than a third. So let's try 0. If I substitute 0 into that bracket, I'll have 0 minus 1, which is going to give me a negative answer. And I'm going to have 3 times 0, which is 0 minus 1, which is another negative answer. So it means that if I multiply these two, because that's what I'm doing there, a negative times a negative will give me a positive. Okay, let's find a value now. Oops, any value between a third and 1. We can try half. Okay, if I put a half in there, it's going to be a half minus 1, which is going to be minus a half, which is a negative. And if I put a half in there, it's going to be 3 times a half, okay, which is going to be 1 and a half, 3 over 2. So 1 and a half minus 1 is a positive answer, so that's going to give me a positive. So a negative times a positive will give me a negative answer. Let's take any number bigger than 1. You can try 2, you can try 5, whatever makes you happy. So if I put in a 2 in there, I'll have 2 minus 1, which is positive. And then I'm going to have 3 times 2, which is 6, minus 1, which is 5, which is another positive. So a positive times a positive will give me a positive. Right, so we are almost done with this question. Let's do our answer here on the right-hand side. So where is my product going to be positive or equal to 0? It's going to be positive or equal to 0 from that section, from that third going that way, and from that 1 going that way. So that means that x is less than or equal to, we include the third because we want to know where it's also equal to 0, 1 over 3, okay, or x, if you're looking at the second bit, is greater than or equal to 1. And this here, ladies and gentlemen, is our answer for that question. Right, let's move right along. Question 3 here. It looks like it's a graph question, right? So given f of x is equal to 2 times 3 to the x minus 1, and g of x is equal to 4 over x plus 3. Write down the equation of the asymptotes of f and g. Right, so what type of graph or function is f? This here, ladies and gentlemen, as you will agree, is an exponential graph, okay, because my x is an exponent. And this here looks like a hyperbola, because my x is a part of a denominator. Right, so I want to know the asymptotes. We all know that the standard exponential graph has the x-axis. It's got the x-axis as a horizontal asymptote. But what has happened here is that this graph has shifted down 1 unit, which means that for f, my asymptote is no longer the equation y is equal to 0, but it is now the equation y is equal to minus 1, right? And for g, we all know that a hyperbola has 2 asymptotes, a horizontal and a vertical. Okay, the horizontal is affected if the graph shifts up and down, and that hasn't happened here. It has not shifted vertically. So for g, our horizontal asymptote is still y is equal to 0. However, this positive 3 here means it's shifted horizontally 3 units to the left. All right. So instead of the vertical asymptote being the y-axis, it is now the equation or the function x is equal to -3, and those are our asymptotes. Question 3.1 done. Moving right along. 3.2. It says determine the y-intercepts of f and g. Okay. So for f, y is equal to 2. All right. If I want to determine the y-intercept, I let x equal to 0. So it means that y is equal to 2 times 3 to the 0 minus 1. And that whole thing there will give me 2 times 1 exponent. So it's 2 minus 1. So it is equal to 1. Okay. So it means that this graph will cut the y-axis at 0, 1. Okay. Let's do g. The y-intercept of g. Again, we let x equal to 0. So that means that y is equal to 4 over 0 plus 3, which is 3. So it means that g cuts the y-axis at 0, 4 over 3. Okay. Easy marks. Okay. Let's look at the next bit. We need to sketch the graph of f. I beg your pardon. All right, we've all agreed that it is an exponential function. It's got a horizontal asymptote cutting the y-axis at -1 because it's shifted down. So let me put in my asymptote first at -1. I'll represent that as a dotted line. There's my horizontal asymptote. And let's actually draw the graph now. It means that my graph will go like from there, okay, and it'll go up, right? Bear in mind that we did work out the y-intercept earlier, and we worked it out to be equal to 1. So that point there, guys, is 1. Okay, so there's my sketch of f done, right? So let's look at the next bit of this question. Sketch the graph of g, okay? This has also got 2 asymptotes. One is going to go down at -3. That's my asymptote. And my graph will go like that. And we said it cuts my y-axis at 4 over 3. So that point there is 4 over 3. And that's my graph. Right. And 3.5. Right. This one says determine the average gradient of g between the points x is equal to 2 and x is equal to 1. Okay, I'd like you guys at home to try this in the 2-minute break that we're going to have, and then after the break we'll take a look at what you've done. Queen?
All right, guys, let's go take the quick ad break. Don't go anywhere. We'll see if you guys got your answers correct. So we'll see you after this. Welcome back, grade 11s. You are still with us on the Exam Revision School, and we are continuing with paper 1 of the grade 11 mathematics. So, Lunga, you can continue.
Thank you, Queen. Right, so guys, I hope you tried this question in the break. They're asking us to find the average gradient of g between the points x is equal to -2 and 1. So average gradient, those are your keywords. X is equal to 2 and x is equal to 1. You should know this from grade 9, that in order to find the gradient, it's a difference in the y values or the y coordinates divided by the difference in the x coordinates. So I need 2 points. Fortunately, I've got the x's. I've got -2. That's the first point. And something, and the second point is 1 and something. I need to work out the somethings. Right, so I'm going to substitute the x's into my g in order to get the y. Right, so let's do it here on the side in green. So if x is equal to -2, so for x is equal to -2, my y will be 4 over -2 plus 3, and that is actually going to be 4 over 1, so it's 4. Okay, so it means that that point there is 4. All right, and what about when x is equal to 1? It means that my y is going to be 4 over, positive 1 plus 3. So that's 4 over 4, which is equal to 1 again. Right, okay, let's fix that. Let's make that a proper one. Excuse me. Okay, so this here is 1. Right, so those are the 2 points, and I need to use those 2 points to find the average gradient. So it means that my average gradient is going to be the difference in the y, so it's 4 minus 1 over negative 2 minus 1. So that's going to be 3 over negative 3, and my answer is negative 1. That is the average gradient of g between those 2 points. Let's move on to the next question, grade 11s, that is question 4. It says, write down the equation. So they're asking us to find the equation, and we know that it's a parabola. Okay, thank goodness. That should make things easy for us. That cuts the x-axis at these 2 points. They give us the x-intercept and the y-axis that is also given. Sorry, not the y-axis, but the y-intercept in this form. Now, this is very important. Okay, so what should be happening in your head is that you should be thinking completing the square. I hope that's what's happening. Okay, because you need to be able to complete the square in order to write the quadratic formula, a quadratic equation in that form. Right, so we are given the 2 x-intercepts, and you should also be familiar with this format of a quadratic formula. So y is equal to a, open bracket, x, minus the first x-intercept, I'll call it x1, multiplied by x minus the second x-intercept, which we're going to call x2, right? So let's substitute there. It means that we need to find 3 things. We need to substitute, the x1 and the x2, and we still need to work out the value of a, and then change it into that format. Right, so that means y is equal to a, which we do not know, but we do know the 2 x-intercepts. The first one is going to be minus negative 2, okay, and a minus is a plus, so it's going to be a plus 2, right? Signs are very important, okay, and the second one there is going to be x minus x2. What is my x2? It's 3, so it's x minus 3, okay? It's x minus positive, and then a minus and a negative is a positive. Right, so let's get rid now, not get rid of, but let's simplify these 2 brackets. I'm going to FOIL this out. It's going to be x squared minus 3 plus 2x is minus x, or minus 1x, and 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Right, okay, now I need to worry about this a. Okay, because I cannot get it into that format if I don't know what a is, right? So I'm going to substitute a point, because you should agree with me that if I know the value of y and I know that, if I know the value of x, I can solve for the unknown, which is a. So let's write the substitute the point 0, negative 12. We are allowed to do that because that lies, it's a point on my graph. So this means that negative 12 is going to be equal to a, right? Okay, that's going to be 0. 0 squared minus 0 minus 6. Okay, dividing both sides by negative 6. I hope you see what happened to the x squared and the x, because 0 squared is still 0, x minus x is still 0, and I'm just left with that term there. Dividing both sides by negative 6, guys, should give me a 2. Right, so now we know our formula. So the name of the equation. So y is equal to 2x squared minus x minus 6. I now need to get it into the form y is equal to ax minus p squared plus q. Right, this is where I need to be able to complete the square. So, taking it from there, we know y is equal to 2. We need to check that the coefficient of my x squared is equal to 1. And that's sort of been done for us in this question, so we don't need to worry about that. What I do need to worry about, though, is this middle term. There's an invisible 1 there, right? So the rule says I need to square that middle term, so negative 1, sorry, I need to half it first. So it's negative 1 over 2. So let me just make my notes on the right-hand side. The middle term is negative 1. So the rule says you need to half it and then square it. And that's what you need to add. Okay, so I'm going to add, if you square that in green, you should get 1 over 4. Okay, remember we're taking it from the step. Right, so I've got a minus 6 there. But now, because I've added a quarter, I need to subtract a quarter because the value of my expression needs to stay the same. We can't change it. So because I've added a quarter, I must also minus a quarter. So there's my green pen. Let's minus a quarter there. And don't forget that there's a big bracket there. Right, so okay, this is what you're going to do now. We're now going to look at these 3 terms. Okay, the whole point of doing this is that you should be able to create a bracket squared. So if I factorize those first 3 terms, that expression, I should get x minus a half all squared. Okay, that's taken from the first 3 terms. Okay, and then on the end there, I've got minus 6 minus a quarter, so it's going to be minus 6 and a quarter. Right, let's scroll down. So this means that I've got y is equal to 2 in a big bracket, x minus a half, excuse me again, x minus a half squared, and that is minus 25 over 4, close bracket, and I can now multiply the 2, so 2, which is my a. I'm just distributing the 2 into the big bracket, so it's 2 times the small bracket. So there's my x, there's my p, and then 2 times the last term will give me 25 over 2. Okay, and there we are. So the question was, we need to find, write down the equation, and we've done just that. There's the equation in that format. Okay, over to the next question, which is actually our challenge question. Exciting. Right, so it says the number pattern 1, 5, 11, 19 is such that the second difference is constant. What is the 100th number in the pattern? So, right. You should have prepared this already in the add breaks. If you do the first difference there, 5 minus 1 is 4, 11 minus 5 is 6, etc. So you should get that second row. And if you go 6 minus 4, you get 2. And there is my constant difference of 2, which I've been told about in the question. And as you may remember, this simply means that my a, 2a is equal to that first difference, that second difference, and it means that 3a plus b is equal to 4, and it means that a plus b plus c is equal to 1. Why are we doing this? Because we need to work out the value of a, b, and c. Okay, so we need to find the general term first. Once you know your general term, you can then find any term. You can find the 100th term as we've been asked. You can find the millionth term. You need to find the general term first. Right, so bear in mind that we need to get it into this form. Tn is equal to a n squared plus bn plus c. Right, so let's try and find the value of a. 2a is equal to 2. So, which means that a is equal to 1. So that's sorted. And if we look at the second bit, we know that 3a plus b is equal to 4. I'm now trying to find the value of b. I know what a is. It's equal to 1. So this means that 3 times 1, which is 3, plus b is equal to 4. This means that b is equal to 4 minus 3, which is 1 again. And the last bit, I know that a plus b plus C is equal to 1, if I'm not mistaken. Please check me. Yes, it's equal to 1. So it is equal to 1. Right, so my A is 1, plus my B is 1 again, plus my C, which I'm trying to solve for, and that is all equal to 1. So that's going to be 2 plus C is equal to 1, and that implies that C is equal to negative 1. Right, so I now know what my general term is. Tn is equal to, what is my A? It's 1, so it's 1n squared. My B is 1 again, so it's plus 1n. And my C is negative 1, so minus 1. And what am I being asked for? I'm asked to find term 100. Now 100, remember, is the position of the term in the sequence. So it is the value of n. So T100, or the 100th term, is equal to 1 times 100 all squared. I'm just substituting, guys, plus 1 times 100 minus 1. So this means that, let's bring up our calculator. Our loyal friend, let's clear that. So it's going to be 100 all squared plus 1 times 100, which is 100, minus 1. And 10,099, so it is 10,099. That is our 100th term. Right, let's see if we can squeeze in some more. So that was your challenge question, guys. You should get an answer of 10,099. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, we've got a finance question, okay, and let's try and squeeze that in as well. Let's go through it quickly. Dineo takes out a loan of 550,000 Rand. Okay, so that's how much she borrows. Remember that a loan from a bank or any financial institution is the same as the bank investing in you that's taking out the loan, because you won't give them 550,000 Rand back. You'll give them something more, okay, something bigger. So she takes out that loan in order to finance her business. After 4 years, that's important, she expands and borrows a further 560,000 Rand, and 3 years, these are all important. After this, she pays off the total in one payment. The interest rate is 18% per annum, compounded quarterly. Determine how much she owed. Determine how much she pays off in one lump sum, or what has this money grown to. Now, it is important to see that there are 2 deposits here, or 2 withdrawals. Two deposits. The bank is making 2 deposits in Dineo, if that makes sense. So it's definitely a timeline question. So let's quickly draw a timeline. Okay. We'll call T0 when she takes out the first 550,000 Rand after 4 years. So at T4, what does she do? She takes out another 560,000 Rand. So 560,000. Okay, she started off with 550,000. All right. So that she borrows at first. After 4 years, she borrows another 560. Okay, and then 3 years after this, she pays it off. So at T7, after 7 years, that's how long she has this money with her. So we need to find out how much money she'll have there. Okay, so we know the formula for compound interest. A is equal to P1 plus I to the power of n. So for the first 4 years, A is going to be what she puts in, so it's 550,000. 1 plus, my interest rate is 18%, so that makes it 0.18. However, it's compounded quarterly, so that means 4 times. Okay, that'll give me my effective interest rate. Okay, and the number of time periods, yes, it's for 4 years, but it's compounded 4 times a year, so it means it is to the power of 16. That's my value of n. Okay, let's bring up our calculator. Let's clear that. So 550,000, 1 plus, let's get a fraction there, 0.18 over 4, close bracket, to the power of 4 times 4, which is 16. Okay, so it's 1112303, 1112303, comma 584. That's how much money she owes at the end of 4 years. Okay, so then she borrows another 560,000. So it means that for the last 3 years, let's see what happens. Oops, last 3 years, let's erase that. Okay, so last 3 years, what happens? A is going to be my P, okay? So if you look at my timeline, what the amount that she starts off the last 3 years with is not going to be just 560,000. It's going to be 560,000 plus the amount she got from the first 4 years, right? Which is this 1 million. So it's going to be 1112303, comma 584 plus the 560,000. Okay, that is my value of P now. And okay, allow me just to write this bracket below because I don't have enough space there. 1 plus the interest rate does not change, okay, but it's to the power of 4 times 3. Why times 4? Because it's 3 years, but it is compounded quarterly, so it's 3 times 4, meaning there are actually 12. It's compounded 12 times. Now we just need to pick up our calculator again. Let's clear all that. No, let's not. Let's use our answer. We're going to add 560,000. All right. Yeah. Okay, because this should all be in a bracket. This is my value of P. And another bracket there. 1 plus fraction 0.18 all over 4. Close that, to the power of 4 times 3 or 3 times 4, which is 12. And that is how much she has to pay at the end of the 7 years. So she has, okay, you might have to help me with this. So it's going to be 283. Okay, 283. And what are the other numbers? 6028. Okay, and let's round it off to 2 decimal places. 598 becomes 60. Right, so this is the amount of money that she pays off at the end of the 7 years. It looks like 2,836,028 rand and 60 cents. Guys, that will bring us now to the end of this section, and I hope that helped you a great deal. Remember to keep interacting with Queen on our Facebook page if you have any questions. Queen?
Yes, and thank you guys so much for attempting the challenge question. I see that a lot of you guys actually got the answer correct, so well done. Thank you so much, Lunga, as well, for helping out the grade 11s out there with the challenge question. Now remember, guys, that if you guys have not entered the K53 Safe Race competition, then you definitely are going to be missing out on a huge chance to win a car. Now, I'm so jealous because I can't even enter the competition because, guys, like, I just can't. So seriously, if you guys have not entered, make sure to get yourself a copy of the K53 Learners and Drivers Manual, or you can also remember purchase the app on the Google App Store or the Samsung Galaxy App Store, and it is easy and simple as that. And one more thing, guys, the prices have actually been reduced. It's not 75 Rand anymore, it's 59 Rand. So make sure to go out there on the app stores and purchase yourself the K53 Safeways app in order to stand that chance to win a car. Now, guys, we have reached the end of the show. It has been great. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. We will see you again next time for paper 2. Now, goodbye.
Goodbye.